Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. Corey and Nick and Kevin here, and in today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the entire first season of... We've wanted to do this for a while, didn't get the time to do it, but the season's over now, and it was fantastic, so we're really excited to kind of sit here and just process through our emotions on it, because the finale was quite the watch. So
something else.
Boys, let's start out. Let's do a little bit of non-spoiler first for anybody who hasn't watched the show yet, because I know this isn't quite like a Falcon and the Winter Soldier or WandaVision where everybody's watching every week. There's some people who haven't started yet. So, Kevin, would you recommend this series to somebody?
If you like The Boys, I would recommend this.
Yep.
If you like Kill Bill, I would recommend this. If you're okay with gratuitous blood and guts and really just wicked violence, then I would absolutely recommend this.
Is there 100%. Anyone you wouldn't recommend it to?
Squeamish people.
My fiance.
If you can't stand the sight of fake blood, animated blood.
I mean, it's or even just the sound that when you see the subtitle, it says squelching.
Yeah, my favorite
if you
word.
Can't handle that sound,
Corey's favorite word.
Don't watch.
That he doesn't have tattooed on him. Squelching.
I'm gonna get like a squelch, like here on my forearm or something. That's the best. When we first started the show, we were doing boys podcast reviews, and it was just like all the squelch from every single bloody episode, which not to get off on a tangent, but they said that season 3 is 3 times bloodier than season 2 of The Boys.
Which is extraordinarily hard to believe, because that was
I can't imagine.
We saw in season 2.
I can't imagine what it's going to be like.
It's going to be pretty wonderful. So I think we're all in consensus that if you're a comic book fan and you are interested in really kind of the embodiment of seeing a comic book come to life. I know people say that about a lot of stuff, but this is like the truest example of that in my opinion. So written by
in terms of that, this was right up there with Into the Spider-Verse as far as like seeing something jump off of the page. That's what this was.
Yeah,
different style, obviously, but
a
that's what it felt
little
like.
bloodier.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse is good for the kids. Invincible, not quite. There is some foul language and some pretty brutal gore in there. But written by Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead fame. You know, obviously he's been successful at adapting something to television. Whether that show should still be on the air is up for interpretation. But the first couple seasons were true bangers, and it lit on fire. So Invincible, the entire first season is available on Amazon Prime now. It already has been greenlit for a second and a third season. So if you're looking for something to get invested into, it's definitely worth watching, because there will be more after these initial 8 episodes. So let's get into some spoilers now for the folks that have enjoyed the show already. If you haven't, this would be a good time to turn away and completely nuke our YouTube analytics. So all right, guys, I know it's hard to recap an entire season in one video, but Nick, we're
gonna do it.
What went through your brain when you were watching this show from start to finish?
I was talking with a buddy of mine recently about it, and because I didn't know he was watching it, but I'm glad that he was, because it's good to see more people watch this show, because I think a lot of people should, because the writing is great, the voice acting is great, the animation is great. I really and thoroughly enjoyed the first season of the story, and I haven't read any of the comic books, so I wasn't even really aware of this to begin with, which is kind of ironic, because I'm a big comic collector and nerd. But the first episode, right? Who would have thunk? The first episode, I'm like, okay, it's not bad. Like I want to see where it goes. And then at the end of the first episode, again, spoilers, when you see Omni-Man show up at the Guardians of the Globe headquarters and just murk everybody, single one of them to death. It's like the entire time I'm like,
he killed a guy called the Immortal.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah,
in the show. So, like, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm hooked. Like, and not to say it's because of that, but it was the why.
mm-hmm.
What's causing him to do this? And I'm thinking there's a greater power, a greater evil at will here, sort of like maybe like a like a Sauron type of thing where he's possessed, and it's kind of funny because we do see Mark and the finale thinking that his dad's possessed.
He starts beating the shit out of him, thinking, who's controlling your brain? Let me get this person out of you.
Right. And he's like, no, it's just me. And then we kind of, and I think it's in the third episode when they're fighting the aliens, or second or third episode when they're fighting the aliens, and Mark goes into another dimension through the portal, and Debbie was like, it's just another Tuesday for him. And you see him on their homeworld just obliterating it, like just drops like a mountain on like these aliens, and it's like, well, that civilization is gone, so you kind of wonder what's he doing, like why is he doing it, and what's his end game on Earth. And we finally figured it out in the first season, which I wasn't sure if we were going to get to like really hear it or not.
I was curious if we were gonna see the plan unveiled. But, since we haven't even said who he is or where his powers come from yet, maybe we should talk about that.
So Omni-Man, right? Omni-Man is from Viltrum.
Yes.
As a Viltrumite. So it's kind of similar to Superman being from Krypton.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that all works. Except he can't shoot. He's not like an identical version of Superman, right? Like he's got the strength, the flight, the speed, the
durability.
The durability, the long lasting life. And he doesn't have like at least we haven't seen him use anything with his breath, or obviously he doesn't shoot laser beams out of his eyes. So it is interesting to kind of just see like a similar Superman, but not quite a copycat, and it's honestly a little like refreshing too.
But just like Superman, he is extraordinarily overpowered.
Oh yeah, like broken
to the point that by the end of the first season, you're just like, well, I just don't understand. Like they've thrown absolutely everything at this guy. If he wants to win, he's going to win. Right.
He could go to the core of the earth and just make it explode if he wanted to.
That's why I'm like super curious about next season. Like, how do you top that? How do you combat that and fight back? And we see them kind of getting ready at the end for what is to come. And it's like, okay, cool. You built some more zombie cyborgs. That's like what you got going on right now.
Zombie cyborgs, and it was kind of funny to see Seth Rogen's character,
Alan the Alien.
seeing Seth Rogen as a one-eyed superhero alien who communicates telepathically. I'm like, this is probably the most appropriate use of his voice I've ever seen in my life.
I love that final scene where,
other than Sausage Party,
where Mark is like, let's talk, and he basically just like throws a moon rock down on the ground. It's like, and after all the chaos and destruction that happened in that finale, that's the last thing that happens is two guys have a telepathic conversation on the moon. Rocks and
he says, I think I'll finish high school, and he goes, oh yeah, that sounds great.
What's high school?
What's high school? It's super cool.
It's fantastic.
But, I'm curious too, Kevin, with the stuff with Omni-Man, what repercussions there are for Earth, because obviously you imagine he's going to come back at some point, but also he left his post. Like his whole job as this chosen Viltrumite was to go to Earth and weaken their defenses so that way they could be taken over someday, and then he bounced, and he's been gone. There are a few times where he's gone through a portal and taken on some folks or gone out to space or whatever, but he always comes right back. As far as I can tell, they said it took a couple weeks for Mark to recover from the events of the finale. So I'm not entirely sure where Nolan has been, and if he even plans on coming back, and if so, what repercussions is he going to face from his people for not doing his job? They don't seem like the kind of folks to just like forgive and forget about stuff like that.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
right? Yeah,
especially with that conversation with Alan. Is that what you said his name is?
Yeah.
When that conversation where he said, they are that Earth was marked for takeover, like that this has never happened before, nobody's ever left a post, like it's a big fucking deal even on a galactic scale. So yeah, I don't think they're just gonna roll over and be like, okay, well, one less planet.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that with Seth Rogen's character, they were saying they kind of plan on taking over, or at least standing up against the Viltrum Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious to see how many Viltrumites are left overall. But for the sake of Mark being a Viltrumite, but also being like an Earthling, it's going to be huge in preparing. And I kind of wonder, because we see them, patching up the Immortal again. So I'm kind of curious to see if we'll get him back. And I don't know if we'll get anyone else back from, probably not, because no one else is immortal like that.
I think the rest of them are dead.
like dead for good.
I wonder if it could be like a Starship Troopers or Ender's Game type situation where they have the one attack, they have the first attack, and that's basically Omni-Man.
Right.
And then it takes like a generation, because they have to move an entire fleet across the universe in order to get here, and there's only so fast you can travel and all this kind of shit. So what if it takes quite a long time for them to get, for Omni-Man to come back, and season 2 could just be what's happening on Earth, maybe Mark is an older man by then. He's had some kids of his own. Like, he could kind of populate the Earth with other little Viltrumites like him.
Yep.
Have a little Viltrumite football team ready to go by the time they get back.
Yeah.
You never know.
And it begs the question, who does he create those little Viltrumites with? I mean, he spends the entire first season lusting over Amber, who's his high school little sweetheart, but there's also a good deal of tension between him and Eve.
Yeah.
So like, do we have Normie Babies or do we have Super Babies?
Well, I mean, if you go with Adam Eve, there's a good chance that you would have Viltrumites that could rewrite matter on a molecular level. So
you create I think there's a good chance you create a new version of a superhero baby.
Yeah.
With Amber, there's still a chance because Mark is, Viltrumite.
Right.
So in the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way Nolan put it, 100% of his blood is Viltrum blood. I think that's what he said, or that's what he was getting.
He said like, your blood. He said Viltrum blood is so pure.
That's what
it is.
So
DNA
pure.
is almost 100% Viltrumite.
So at
which
that
actually
point,
doesn't make any sense according to genetics, but that's okay.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the season, he didn't even know if Mark was going to have powers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So
he was
even
like
if
waiting for them to wake up.
Yeah. So if he and Amber, have some babies. Is there a high percentage or low percentage that any of the kids that he might have with Amber develop superpowers? You know, so it's like he might have the same thought that his dad had for him. Maybe, maybe not. Like at what age? So I don't know if I want to read the comics either. Like I don't know about you guys.
I don't want to get this spoiled. I'm having too much fun watching it. Just like with the boys. Like I don't want to know.
Yep.
I really don't. Yeah. I was in a bookstore the other day, and I started to pick up the boys graphic novel.
Don't do it.
And I was just like, no, I'm not. I flipped through the first couple of pages. I was like, that's different enough that it'd probably be okay, but also I don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know what was really great to me about this concept was that we've seen a couple of different ways for the whole superhero thing to go, right? So you can either have like the Avengers. Okay, you're privately funded. You're just, kind of a bunch of individuals with high-tech gear in a place that doesn't really answer to anybody, at least at first. Or you can have it more like The Boys, where it's a private corporation that kind of funds them and creates them and all this kind of shit. but we generally don't see the government controlling the superheroes like we did in Invincible, because it is basically just another branch of the Department of Defense, or
the Pentagon, right?
Yeah. Like so much of that
Pentagon parking in the
rear.
Yeah. Every time they did that establishing shot, it cracked me up.
Yeah. I was like, okay, wow.
Yeah, but yeah, it's different, right? Because now you have the consent of the government, you have the backing of the government, you have the funding of the government, and you also have the shady shit of the government.
Yeah,
like that white room at the end,
dude. The whole white room conversation to me was one of the best parts of that episode.
It had like a Matrix type feel to it.
Yeah,
like welcome to the real world, Neo.
it did.
It really did.
It's kind of funny because I'm sure the three of us and then anyone watching has probably heard some silly talk about not reasons why you shouldn't drink tap water in our reality, right? Like, I mean, obviously, there are chemicals and harmful things in tap water. That's why we have it filtered. In certain countries, if you drink tap water, you could get H. pylori. Like it's not clean. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy thing to do, unfortunately. But the way they sort of created and established their own reasoning or their own sort of fairy tale behind it is it reduces the vision to see certain things. It's to see like colors, and I'm like, holy shit, that's actually kind of clever.
Yeah, a whole like part of the visible spectrum of light is not visible.
It's gone
because we've been ingesting tap water.
Yeah,
it's like you got fluorine in there, right? Or fluoride. You've got something else in there too. We're not just helping your teeth.
But the funny thing, and that's when we just see so much shit, and Mark's like, "Wait, what?" I also thought it was kind of interesting because he's Viltrum. I almost thought, I'm like, well, why? So
why can't he see it?
Yeah, so it also affects Viltrumites too. So I kind of wonder if Nolan went in there, would he be affected that way as well?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Maybe he just doesn't need to drink water, like.
Yeah,
but that 10 seconds or whatever that he had taken the red pill, like it was like, oh wow, this is a lot of threads for potential stuff that we could be setting up here.
Absolutely,
a lot of shit going on. Fast. It was awesome.
And while during that little conversation between Invincible and Alan on the moon or whatever, when he says, so what's the plan now, and then they cut to this montage of what's going on around the universe at that point, or at least the galaxy. You see the Martians getting ready. Well, they're getting eaten alive by that one weird race of facehugger things. You also see them getting ready, presumably, to come attack Earth, because we're the ones that unleashed it on them. You see a lot of shit, but some of it is things that we've seen before, like that weird lion dude, the alien, or I don't know, from a different dimension, wherever he's from. That lion.
Wasn't that Marshala Ali's?
No, he was the crime boss.
That's right. I forgot who played the
I don't remember who played the lion guy, but he just fucking destroyed everybody in that room. He's still around. It's like so much is going on that I have a sneaking suspicion that season 2 we might get to see like more of these little individual storylines, and actually get to see Mark become the superhero that he is meant to be, and actually become that protector of Earth. I also kind of feel like once Alan goes back and tells his people that maybe Earth might get a little bit more help, and that might be
the coalition of planets or whatever.
That might be his Gandalf on the ridge at sunrise moment. The coalition of planets coming to help, which could be really fucking cool.
And anytime they say that somebody's building up a cause to fight an empire, I always think about Star Wars. So the coalition of planets being like the rebellion, and then the Viltrum Empire being the empire. That's a pretty rad concept that it could be pretty epic. And I think the creator of the show said that they could do probably 6 or 7 seasons if they wanted to, based off of how much source material there is. So I'm all for that right now.
Yeah.
Based off the first season. If they can do that 7 times, that'd be fantastic.
I was going to say...
go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as like, obviously, the first season being over, but it not only getting a renewed for a second season, but a second and a third, just says like how well the people have been rating it. Like you know, on Amazon you could see like the IMDb ratings or whatever. I think it's like an 8.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty damn good. You know. So again, like I know there's a ton of source material out there, so I'm all for it. If they want to do 6 or 7 seasons, by all means, please. You know.
Yeah,
like,
and it
can't
get
be better, I think.
That expensive.
No,
you know,
that's the best thing about it. And
yeah,
you're spending some money on voiceover talent. Obviously, there's some big names in there, but I mean, compared to an actual movie, this is probably a fraction of the cost. So it's like, why not? If you're getting some viewers, why not just keep doing it?
Yeah, because it's not even like a 3D animation. It's more like a 2D animation with a little bit of additional depth.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Absolutely.
Can't cost that much to do, and you know the actors, if you really wanted to, they could record from home. I know that. What was the name of that movie that Disney Plus just came out with? Raya, the last dragon thing.
Oh yeah.
They said that most of the movie was recorded by the cast from their homes because it was done during the pandemic. So it's like, you can do it. You just need a good microphone and a little bit of noise isolation, and it's possible. So
for sure.
But more Mahershala. That's what I want.
More Mahershala. Yeah.
His character wasn't even part of the main storyline, which is what we've kind of been touching on. But like, he was excellent in that one episode he was in.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill was great in the couple little bit parts that he was in as the tailor that makes the superhero suits.
Yeah.
I mean, like obviously the main cast is Stephen Yeun, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh. They crushed it. And they were great.
Zazie Beetz.
Yeah. Like all the supporting characters, Walton Goggins there, Cecil and everything, like just like really big names from TV and movies. And that shows that when you get talent like that, like when J.K. Simmons is delivering all those little monologues in the final episode as he's just pulverizing Mark, it's unbelievable. It's so,
it's kind of funny that for some of the movies that he's been in, right, like with superheroes, he's Jim Gordon in the Snyder Cut, and
J. Jonah
Jameson in the Spider-Man movies, and he's always surrounded by superheroes, not being one. Well, finally he is a superhero, and an overpowered, broken one at that. So it's like,
and I don't know, have you guys seen Whiplash, where he's the band director?
Oh yeah, dude,
no, I haven't seen
phenomenal movie.
A little bit of his assholishness from Flash into this character.
Okay, well, if you want to see
movie.
His acting like on display, like this is what this guy can do, there's a show called Counterpart that he's in right now. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
All right, it's a really interesting concept. You should check it out. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but he basically plays this guy who is working for some secret spy organization in Berlin, and finds out that somewhere in that building is basically a doorway to another version, another reality, and everything. And they discovered it during the Cold War, so everything up until that point in those two worlds was exactly the same until somebody went across, and then everything started splintering. So you get to see him play himself from both realities.
Oh, that's cool.
Interacting with each other. And in one reality, he is the top spy, basically in that world, and a complete badass. And then the other one, he's like this low-level, like grunt little dude with zero confidence, and like,
great.
And they, oh my god, the acting is fucking phenomenal. He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, he's terrific. He brings a certain weight to whatever roles he's in. At this point, it's very cool. But so if you guys had to rate this first season out of 10, Kevin, what would you give this one?
Man, it's tough because it's like like we were saying as we went through Falcon and Winter Soldier. I know there's more coming, so I kind of don't want to come out of the gates, guns blazing.
Yeah.
But when I compare how I felt about the very first episode and like what Nick said, all the way up until that kind of post-credits shocker, I was like, okay, cool, it's another superhero story. And when I compare how I felt then to how I feel now, I would probably give this shit a 10. But I feel like there's so much more that we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So in terms of kicking something off and giving us like a almost like a cliffhanger to deal with and like just completely sucking you into it, I'm gonna give it at least a 9.
Solid. Nick, how about yourself?
Yeah, I concur. I think just not only for the sake of the story, but everything, like the animation, the voice acting, the talent, and the job that they did.
Yeah.
I feel like what we do here on our show, we don't just talk about was the story good or bad, and that was it. Like we often touch on all the aspects that go into a show or a movie. Or an animated show or movie. So I think based on the style, the soundtracks, the acting, the story, especially, a 9 is accurate. And I mean, and the consensus is pretty much the same. It's an 8.8 directly on Amazon Prime. So people are in that sort of same mindset between like an 8.5 to a 9. But yeah, I don't want to overshoot it. But will I go back and watch the entire season again? Absolutely.
100%.
No. So I think it's one of those shows that is rewatchable. And if it's rewatchable, excuse me, then I think it deserves a higher rating. So I'm okay with giving it a 9.
Yeah. I think I'd probably be in the same ballpark, maybe even a scotch higher. I didn't think this would ever happen, but it took some of the thunder away from Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me. Like I was some weeks as excited, if not more, to watch Invincible. And then I thought Invincible's finale was better than Falcon and Winter Soldier's finale. And not just because there was a lot of blood and guts and action and whatnot. The assembly scene was fucking awesome. But
brutal.
But the story, right? The story really, really, really hit. And it felt genuinely emotional. And it just checked all the boxes for me. So I would probably maybe give it like a 9.1 or a 9.2, just to leave some headroom for where they could go in the future. But if people ask me right now, hey, what's a show I can watch? It's going to be the first one that I recommend. Straight out the gate to people, because I don't think it's gotten as much promotion as like a Falcon and Winter Soldier or some of these other shows that are on HBO or Netflix or whatever, but it deserves it. It
absolutely deserves it.
Really, really good. I did some quick tangent. I watched a few videos that compared some of the comics to the show once I watched the finale. And there are parts of it that are literally panels from the comics that are ripped out and put in.
Really?
It's great. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Like that kind of stuff, cool. The attention to detail and the care for the source material, all that puts it up at that 9.2.
Yeah.
So
when you had texted us and said that you're not ready for this kind of shit, I started to ask you at that point, did you like this better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier finale? And before I could even ask you, I saw you post on our Twitter, this was better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier finale. I'm like,
and that's not there's my answer. That's not to talk down on that finale. It wasn't my favorite episode of TV ever, but it wasn't bad by any stretch. This was very, very good. It was top tier shit. So
did you guys see that there might be a live version of this show? I think Boss Logic talked about it on his
Seth Rogen is actually developing it.
That's right. Wow. So
which him and his partner Evan Goldberg, they developed Boys and they did Preacher on AMC. So they're not strangers to the comic book adaptation world.
Yeah. And again, I'd be curious to see, will they be very linear with the animated show and the comics? Will they stay true to it? You know, honestly, it would be really awesome to see, you know, some of these voice actors to do the live versions.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
You know, so I kind of hope they do it for that part, right? Because I think that would really go hand in hand and be a little different, a little bit more than them just to kind of get behind a microphone in a closet or a professional studio. And
yeah, they'd have to do a lot of wire work.
Right.
There's a lot of flying in this show.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little bit too old to play those parts, but
right. Like, I mean, J.K.
Simmons,
for sure. You know,
but Mark Hamill could do
him. Mark Hamill could for sure.
Because all he has to do is sit there and stitch stuff.
Yeah, I'm just thinking more of you know, Mark and Amber and Adam and Adam Eve. They're like, those are all not high school aged people.
Right. Like, I think Sandra Oh could play Debbie. I think Stephen Yen could play Mark. You know, at least
maybe if they did like a couple years in the future or something.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's a couple of the other characters. Not too sure.
I don't know. Have you guys seen the picture of J.K. Simmons lifting weights before?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He can get ripped if he needs to.
Yeah.
So I'd actually kind of be all for it, to be honest with you.
Just CGI his face so he doesn't look as old.
Yeah.
De-age him just a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with being old, JK. If you're watching, you're not, but if you are, you're a badass.
The gray hair.
Not sure how that would play.
Viltrumites live for thousands of years. So
exactly.
There is no such thing as old.
Time.
That's right. Cool, man. Well, let's wrap this thing up and take it home. Guys, we'd love to hear from you if you've watched this show. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you haven't, we obviously would suggest going over to Amazon Prime and checking it out. We would also really appreciate it if you can go ahead and like this video. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. We hit 100 subscribers recently, which
we did.
Like, holy shit. Thank you guys so much. That's amazing. We probably really never thought we'd get to that point. So to hit triple digits is pretty cool. It gives us more reason to keep making these videos, so that way you guys keep watching them. So yeah, we will have more videos coming out in the next couple weeks, more movie reviews, more TV shows that are coming out. So for Nick and Kevin, I'm Corey, and we'll see you guys in the next video.